especially on trains. But after missing his afternoon flight, the midnight train was his only way back to Berlin before Monday morning. Rain poured across the station roof as he stepped onto Platform 9. The station was nearly empty. Only the sound of distant thunder echoed through the cold air. An old digital clock above the platform read 12:14 a.m. The last train of the night waited silently beside the tracks. Its faded silver body looked strangely old, compared to the modern trains Daniel usually took. Several lights inside flickered weakly. For a moment, Daniel considered booking a cheap hotel instead. But he had an important meeting the next morning, so he pulled his coat tighter and walked toward the train. A conductor stood beside the open door. He was tall, thin, and looked far too old for the job. His dark uniform looked outdated, almost like something from 20 years ago. The conductor slowly checked Daniel's ticket. "Car 7, he said softly. Then he paused. His tired eyes studied Daniel carefully. "You're the last passenger tonight?" Daniel gave a small, uncomfortable laugh. "Guess I barely made it." The conductor did not smile back. Instead, he leaned slightly closer. "If you hear knocking after 1 a.m., He stopped speaking. Daniel frowned. "What?" But the conductor suddenly stepped aside. "Never mind. Please take your seat." Daniel walked into the train feeling uneasy. The inside smelled faintly of dust and old leather. Most of the seats were empty. The silence felt unnatural, not peaceful, heavy, like the entire train was holding its breath. Daniel found Seat 12 and placed his backpack above him. Then he looked around the cabin. Only 4 other passengers were there. A woman in a long red coat sat by the window, reading a thick novel. She looked calm, but occasionally glanced at her watch. Across from her, an elderly man slept quietly with his hat lowered over his face. Near the center of the cabin sat a teenage boy wearing headphones. He tapped his fingers nervously against his knee while staring at his phone. And at the far end of the car sat a tall man wearing black gloves. The man's coat was completely black. His gloves were black. Even his suitcase was black. But what bothered Daniel most was the fact that the man never moved. Not once, not even to blink. Daniel sat down and checked his own phone. No signal, he sighed. Perfect. A few minutes later, the train slowly began moving. The station lights disappeared behind them. Soon, the city faded into darkness. Rain slammed against the windows while the train sped through endless forest. For the first 30 minutes, nothing happened. Daniel tried reading emails on his laptop, but the weak internet kept disconnecting. The silence inside the cabin became harder to ignore. Nobody spoke. Nobody walked around. Even the teenage boy eventually removed his headphones and began glancing nervously around the cabin. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. The elderly man suddenly woke up. "What was that?" he muttered. Before anyone answered, the train violently stopped. Daniel nearly fell from his seat. Outside the windows, there was nothing but darkness. No station, no buildings, only trees. Thousands of trees surrounding the train from every direction. The woman in the red coat stood up immediately. "Why did we stop?" Nobody answered. A few seconds later, the conductor entered the cabin. But now he looked terrified. Sweat covered his forehead. "There is a technical problem," he said quietly. "Please remain seated." The teenage boy laughed nervously. In the middle of nowhere, the conductor ignored him. Instead, he slowly looked around the cabin, counting the passengers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His breathing became uneven. Then his eyes stopped on the woman in the red coat. For a split second, his face changed. Fear. Real fear. The light suddenly went out. Complete darkness swallowed the cabin. Someone gasped. Daniel heard movement nearby. Then, knocking. 3 slow knocks. From somewhere outside the train. Knock! Oh, knock. Knock! Daniel's heart froze. The sound came again. This time closer. Knock. Knock. Knock! The teenage boy whispered shakily. Someone's outside. The lights returned instantly. Everyone looked around in panic. The woman in the red coat was gone. Her book remained open on the seat. Her bag still rested beside the window, but she was gone. Daniel stood up immediately. "What the hell?" The elderly man stared in confusion. "That's impossible." "There's only one exit," Daniel said. "She couldn't just disappear." The conductor rushed toward the empty seat. His hands trembled badly now. "Did anyone see her leave?" Nobody answered. Because nobody had. The train suddenly started moving again. Slowly at first, then faster. Much faster than before. The forest outside became a blur. The teenage boy stood up. Maybe she moved to another cabin. Daniel pointed at the seat. Without her phone, without her bag, everyone turned toward the belongings she left behind. Then, her phone began ringing. The sound exploded through the silent cabin. Nobody moved. Unknown number. The conductor hesitated before slowly answering. "Hello." For several seconds, only static came through the speaker. Then a woman whispered, "Don't let the man in gloves touch you." The call disconnected. Silence. Every passenger slowly turned toward the tall man in black gloves. For the first time since the trip began, he moved. Very slowly, he lifted his head and smiled.